Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, my name is Tanisha and I love to take you along on my reading journey. I have been on BookTok and BookTube for at least 5 years now, and there are a lot of authors that I have been seeing constantly. Think about Sarah J Maas, Liz Tomford, Lauren Asher, Lauren Roberts, Jessa Hastings, but there are a lot of authors that I have never read a book from. So I thought it would be fun to start a video series where I jump on the train of this popular author. And since my book club is reading The Women by Kristin Hannah, I think this is the perfect time to jump on the Kristin Hannah train. I have heard so many good things about Kristin Hannah. I have seen so many people rate her books 5 stars, cry their eyes out, so I honestly can't wait to jump into this story. This book is about Frances, who is a 20-year-old nurse who decides to join the army to help at the war front in Vietnam. And this leads to chaos, destruction of a war, trauma, but also learning about true friendship and love. This is a historical fiction that takes place in 1965 during the Vietnam War, and I honestly don't know anything about that war, so I hope that this book is going to educate me a little bit and also gives me a starting point on learning more about it after I finish the book. But I went into this book completely blind as to what was happening in Vietnam during 1965. I did start this book yesterday, today is Monday, and our book club meeting is on Thursday, so I don't have a lot of time to finish this book. So that's also why I put some tabs on top of the book, so I know how many pages I have to read each day to be able to finish on Wednesday. My plan yesterday was to read until page 116 to be able to finish this book in time, but I only read until page 74, so I have to catch up a bit today. But so far I have read this much, and I have put some annotation tabs, but not a lot, but I still have to underline the quotes. So I'm going to do some reading now and probably underline the quotes later, but I put the tabs in so I know where to look for the quotes that I want to underline. So far I'm enjoying the story. This book is very easy to get into. Maybe the first 2 or 3 pages I had to get into it, but after that I was fully invested into the story. I'm obviously only 64 pages in, so I don't have a lot of content to go off of. But so far I am enjoying the story and I don't feel like I'm missing any context to understand what is going on. So that's very good. And I'm very curious to see what the other girls in the book club are thinking about this book. But we'll see. I'm going to start reading now and I will update you later. People came, they did their tour, and they left. The lucky ones like Ethel flew home in one piece. Some wanted parties for their send-off and some wanted to slip away in silence. Some wanted both. Either way, you woke up one day and your friend was just gone. War was full of goodbyes, and most of them never really happened. You were always too early or too late. I'm currently on page 120. I feel like I'm flying through this book. I've not been reading that long, but I already made 50 pages of progress. Kristin Hannah is doing an amazing job at showing all the sides of war. So not only the soldiers that are being hurt, but also the civilians, and not just the sorrow and sadness, but also the lightness of life. Like the main character Frances is stitching up people in the afternoon and then goes to party during the night, or one day she is constantly operating on people and working for 12 hours on end, but then the next day she is jet skiing and partying on a beach. So there are a lot of different sides to life. Obviously, life is not always bad and it's not always good. It's always a mix of everything. And I never expected that a book about war was going to still show all the different sides of life, even though the subject is so heavy. I've been annotating like crazy, but I still have not underlined any of the quotes. So I think I'm going to take a break right now to do that, and then I'm going to continue reading. My plan is to read until at least page 253. I don't think it's going to take me super long because I'm enjoying this read, and also I have the audiobook if I need it. The writing style is very beautiful. I like the size of these chapters. They are not super long but also not short at all. And I like that it's not 100% sad. Even though I would have get it if it was only sadness and sorrow and pain, but it makes it easier to binge this book when there are also more fun things talked about, like the friendship that is developing between Frances and all the other nurses, and also the fun that she has and how she is growing in her skills as a nurse. So yeah. I'm currently on page 160. It is the next day and I just got home from work. I did read some pages during my lunch break, but I'm currently on page 160, so I'm still behind on my reading goal. I think I said I wanted to read until at least page 240 yesterday, or 230, I don't know. I didn't reach it, but that's okay. I will make it up today, but I thought I would update you before I continue reading. So like I said, I'm currently on page 160. I don't know how far that is in the book, but this is what it looks like. I'm still very much enjoying the story. Frances is still in Vietnam, so she is experiencing a lot of traumatic things, and I've already noticed how much she has grown. I constantly forget that she is only 20 because of how mature she is in her thinking and how she talks, but that is obviously because she is experiencing all these very scary things that make her grow up faster. So that's something that I had noticed while reading. And it's also very easy to pick the book back up when you have taken a pause from reading, because I read during my lunch break earlier and I was immediately back into the story, even though it had been 15 hours since last reading the book. So that's also very nice. I'm still actively tabbing this book. Kristin Hannah writes amazing quotes, and I can imagine that I'm going to find even more beautiful quotes during the rest of the pages. So I'm very excited also to just read all the beautiful quotes and take the story in. I wish I didn't have to rush myself while reading this. Obviously, my book club meeting is coming up pretty soon. I only have today and tomorrow to read, and I still need some time to answer the questions that we want to discuss. So that's why I am rushing myself, and that's 100% my fault because I started too late, basically. But that's okay. This is not the first time that I'm going to finish a book in a couple of days, so I will survive. But right now I'm kind of bummed because I wish I could take this story in way slower and actually soak myself into the story. But maybe that is just a sign that I have to reread this book. So those are my thoughts right now. I'm going to make myself some dinner, and after that I'm going to get cozy and read probably the entire evening to catch up on the pages. really like how some things are just so innocent in this book. Frances is currently on a leave from her work, so she is in Hawaii and she is experiencing things for the first time there. And the way that she's just innocently talking about it with her closest girlfriend really shows that even though people are in this very hard situation, they still form very powerful and lovely friendships, if that makes sense. It just shows that all the nurses and the soldiers are still human no matter how much trauma they endure. I'm almost on page 200 and I honestly just want to get back into the story, so I'm going to stop yapping now. She had joined the army to find her brother and found herself instead. In war, she had found out who she really was and who she wanted to be. It's Wednesday, which means it is the last day for me to finish The Women, and I'm currently on page 303, so I have like 150 pages left, so I've still quite some reading to do, but honestly, yesterday I read somewhere between like 150 and 170 pages, and it honestly didn't feel like I read that much, so I think I'm going to be fine. I worked all day and I finally logged off, so it is time for me to start finishing this book, but before I do that, I wanted to update you on what I read between our last update and now. One thing I have noticed is that I started to annotate less since the female main character got back from war. I don't know if that is because there is less things happening, even though her life outside of Vietnam is still very hard to read. She is dealing with a lot of things right now, and she is also not in the best place in terms of comfort and support. So you would think that there would be a bunch to talk about, and honestly, I have a lot of thoughts about the second part so far, but there are just not as many good quotes. But it can also be me being too invested in reading to realize the quotes. So maybe I'm just flying over the quotes, not realizing how beautiful they are. My guess is that I have 2 or 3 more hours to read until I am done. So I'm just going to get cozy, start reading, and I will probably talk to you in a few days after the book club meeting to share my final thoughts so I can actually process the book properly to give a final rating and stuff like that. It is Friday, which means I finished the book and also had my book club meeting. The last time I spoke to you, I was on page 303. And I think I was talking about not having that many good quotes in the second half of the book to annotate. But honestly, I was wrong, because after that, so many things happened that made very good quotes. As you can see, I have so many quotes highlighted in this book. I really enjoyed this book. The story is very impactful. The way everything is described makes you feel like you are there, even though you have never, at least I hope, you have never experienced anything like this. It is a very painful and impactful story, but in a very beautiful book. I really enjoyed how Frances grew throughout the book. She had a lot to endure while she was home, and honestly, she handled everything with grace, even when she was doing things that you would not specifically label as something that is good. She made some choices that were not the best for her, but she still handled it with respect towards herself and also the people around her. The way female friendship is described in this book and the love that you can have for your friends was very beautifully written. There are so many good quotes in this book about grief and love and friendship, and one of my favorite quotes is actually on page 168, and it reads, "I love you, you know that, and I know that you love me. And when that's in place, we don't need a goodbye." And that also describes how it is to love people during a war, because obviously Frances is dealing with a lot of people who are going away. It is not a spoiler when I tell you that there are people dying. Obviously Frances was in a war, so she sees people die that she loves, but also see people go away, because there were a couple of people that she got very close to that were there before she got to Vietnam. So obviously they are also going away before she gets to leave. So she deals with a lot of goodbyes, but this quote really describes the way they deal with these goodbyes, because they just never say it to each other. They know that they love each other, and when that is in place, they don't need the goodbye. This was a quote out of a letter that one of Frances's girl best friends wrote her while she was still in Vietnam, I think. And basically throughout the rest of the book, every time I saw them interact with each other, I kept thinking about that quote. So that's also why I picked it as my favorite quote. I decided to give this book 4.75 stars. It is not a 5-star book because there were a couple of scenes where I was a bit not bored, but I just didn't care about it. That was also a situation where I'm just not a fan of the thing that was happening. I really have to be vague because I think me saying what the situation is will be a spoiler. So I'm not going to say it, but so that's why this is not a 5-star book, but I still really enjoyed it. Kristin Hannah is an amazing author. Her quotes are beautiful. The way she describes this time period was also very accessible. I didn't know anything about the Vietnam War, and I feel like I learned a lot, and she also wrote about it with a lot of respect, I feel like. And you also got a lot of hints of situations that were also happening during the time span. Even though they were not the main subject of the book, you still got a very clear idea of what America was like during this time. So I also really liked that because it makes it feel more realistic, because obviously the Vietnam War was the main subject of this book, but just like right now, there's always a lot of things happening at the same time. A lot of bad things are happening, and it would have been unrealistic if she never mentioned anything about it. So I really like the way she went about writing about this time and also making it feel realistic. Those are my thoughts. I understand the hype around Kristin Hannah. I'm definitely going to read more books by her. I saw on the beginning of the book that she has a bunch of books, so I'm sure I'm going to find a 5-star book in there. This video was not about me finding a 5-star book. It was about me jumping on the Kristin Hannah train and seeing where it would lead me. And I have to say, it led me to an amazing book. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below if you have read any Kristin Hannah books and which one I should read next. And I will see you in my next video whenever I post it. Bye!